What if I told you that everything you think you know about rheumatoid arthritis is wrong, and not just a little wrong, completely wrong? And this isn't just about the joint pain, and it's definitely not what you have been seeing all over the social media. I am Dr. Girnita, a board-certified rheumatologist who diagnoses and treats patients with rheumatoid arthritis. And today I'm going to show you why the myths you believe about rheumatoid arthritis aren't just wrong. They are dangerous because these myths are literally forcing millions of people to suffer needlessly. But let me break it down for you. Right now, 17 million people worldwide are affected by rheumatoid arthritis. And here it is what's scary. Many of them are getting diagnosed way too late, or worse, they are getting the wrong treatment entirely. Why? Because of these myths that I'm going to share with you. Myth number 1. Let's start with the biggest myth of all, that rheumatoid arthritis is just an old person arthritis. And here is what most people think, that arthritis is something that happens when you get old, right? Your joints wear off like an old car. But rheumatoid arthritis, that's completely different. This is not about wear and tear. It's about your body immune system going wrong. And let me explain to you what's really happening. In rheumatoid arthritis, your immune system literally turns against you and starts attacking your joints. Now think of it like a friendly fire in your own body. And here it is what makes it even more shocking. Rheumatoid arthritis can strike at any age. Even children can have it. But most of my patients, they are between the age of 30 and 60 years old. Let me share with you a story that will change how you think about rheumatoid arthritis forever. I remember Emily. She was 28 years old, a new mom with her first baby. And what should have been the happiest time of her life turned out into a nightmare. It started with simple tingling and numbness in her hands, and she could barely hold her baby while breastfeeding. But her doctor told her that it's just pregnancy related and gave her some naproxen. And in a few days it got worse, and then the pain spread, and then her fingers started swelling, and soon she could not even walk properly. She got a round of prednisone, which temporarily helped, but her symptoms came back worse than ever after she stopped the prednisone. Now, by the time that she reached my office, she had suffered needlessly for months, and all because this dangerous myth that rheumatoid arthritis is just an old person's disease. She was feeling exhausted, she had changes in her voice, she had tingling and numbness in her hands, she had shortness of breath, and she was depressed and very anxious to get a diagnosis. But do you think rheumatoid arthritis affects just the joints? This leads me to myth number 2. Let me explain to you something that most doctors won't tell you about rheumatoid arthritis. You know how when you're buying a house, you just don't go and look to one room. You inspect the whole house, correct? Because a problem that will be in the foundation can affect everything. Well, here is what's fascinating about rheumatoid arthritis and what most people get completely wrong. They think it's just about joint pain, but that's like checking just the living room when the whole house is at risk. Now, let me explain to you what I mean. Think of inflammation like a fire in $1 million home. When a fire starts in the kitchen, would you say, "Oh, it's just a fire in the kitchen. The rest of the house will be fine"? Of course not. You will call the fire department immediately because you know what's going to happen next. Here it is what makes rheumatoid arthritis so dangerous and expensive in terms of your health. It can attack your heart, leading to a 50% higher risk for heart attacks. It can affect the lungs, doubling the risk to have breathing problems. It can damage the eyes. 1 in 4 people with rheumatoid arthritis had eye problems, and it will impact your skin and even your mental health. But do you know what's the really expensive part? Ignoring these signs is like ignoring a fire alarm in your house. By the time that you smell smoke, you've already lost valuable time and resources. Remember that fatigue, those mysterious fever, that's your body expensive security system telling you that there is a problem. And like a home security system, ignoring these warning signs can cost you everything. But you might be thinking, well, I will know when I have rheumatoid arthritis because I will see it in my joints, correct? And that will bring me to something that even most experienced doctors will miss. Myth number 3. Here is a story that changed how I think about rheumatoid arthritis forever. Last month, I had 2 patients coming in the same day. James, who had severely twisted fingers, and he was convinced that he has rheumatoid arthritis, and Maria, whose hands looked completely normal, but she felt very, very stiff in the mornings. Do you want to guess which one actually had rheumatoid arthritis? Maria, the one with the normal looking hands. She actually had an aggressive form of rheumatoid arthritis that was silently damaging her joints. On the other hand, James, he had a completely different condition that we call osteoarthritis or wear and tear arthritis. And do you know what's dangerous? By the time that you see those joint deformities, it's like waiting to evacuate your house until you see the flames coming through the roof, because the damage is already done and it is irreversible. You can also think of it like the rust on a car. By the time that you see it on the surface, the damage underneath has been happening for months or even years. And just like the rust, once these deformities, joint deformities appear, they are permanent. No treatment in the world can make your fingers look like they did before. But what if I tell you that the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis are actually more unpredictable than you can imagine? Let me help you understand this with an example. Myth number 4. You can think of it like the stock market. You wouldn't judge your entire investment portfolio based on one good day or one bad day. Is that correct? Rheumatoid arthritis is the same way. It's not a straight line. It's more like a roller coaster with periods of feeling completely normal, then sudden flare-ups that come out of nowhere, with times of partial relief and unexpected triggers that can change everything. And because we are speaking of triggers, here it is what makes it more complicated. There are certain things that can send your rheumatoid arthritis into a flare-up faster than a market crash. Things like processed food or sugar, viral infections like the flu or COVID-19, poor sleep, and the biggest that no one wants to talk about is your stress. But what if I told you that there are people out there that they are claiming that they can completely cure your rheumatoid arthritis? And let me tell you why this myth might be the most dangerous one yet. Myth number 5. Let me tell you something that drives me crazy and many of the rheumatologists that I know. You've probably seen those social media posts. I cure my rheumatoid arthritis naturally, or this secret protocol eliminates rheumatoid arthritis forever. But here is the truth about cures that nobody wants to talk about. Getting your symptoms under control is not the same as being cured. And let me tell you why this matters so much. You should think of it like having a really aggressive credit card debt. Yes, you can get it under control with the right strategy, and we call this remission, but the account still exists. Stop managing it, and the debt comes back roaring. Let me put this into perspective. In the entire history of medicine, we have been only completely able to cure a handful of diseases. Smallpox, gone for good. Polio, nearly wiped out. Tuberculosis, this is curable with antibiotics. But autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, there is more like managing a long-term investment portfolio. You can't just fix it and forget it. You need ongoing strategy and management. And speaking of management strategies, this brings me to something that might surprise you about what actually causes rheumatoid arthritis in the first place. Myth number 6. What if I told you that you have more control over rheumatoid arthritis than you ever imagined? Most people think it's all about genetics, like drawing a bad card in a poker game. But here is what's important. Your daily habits, might matter more than your genes. And let me show you something that shocked even most experienced colleagues. A recent study found out that processed food and sugar will increase your risk of rheumatoid arthritis by an astounding 63%. And this is not a typo, 63%. Think of it like building a house. Your genetics might give you the blueprint, but your lifestyle choices, those are like choosing whether to build on solid ground or on sand. And here is what most doctors will not tell you, but smoking doesn't hurt just you. It will increase your risk to develop rheumatoid arthritis, but will also increase the risk for your kids through secondhand smoke. And then processed food diet is like pouring gasoline on a fire. And even skipping dental checkups, that can increase your risk because yes, your teeth matter, but there is also something else. While everyone is worried about their genetics, there is something missing, something crucial about diet and supplements. And that will take us to our next myth number 7, the supplement trap. You've probably seen those Instagram posts, someone holding a bottle of supplements claiming that they cure their rheumatoid arthritis. Or maybe they are pushing some exotic diet that actually costs you more than your monthly mortgage. But let me tell you why this drives me crazy. That could cost you thousands of dollars in wasted money and time. And here's the truth about diet and supplements that most people will not tell you because they will not sell their products. They are like maintenance crew for a skyscraper. Important? Absolutely. Can they tear down and rebuild the entire building? Absolutely not. Now, let me break down exactly what the science says. Can an anti-inflammatory diet help? Yes, like the premium fuel in a car. Do supplements like vitamin D and omega-3 matter? Absolutely. Will they cure your rheumatoid arthritis? About as much as changing your car oil will turn it into a new vehicle. And the real danger here isn't that these things do not help, because they do, but the danger is believing that they are enough alone. And again, this is like trying to fix a broken foundation by repairing your walls. But speaking of movement and treating your body right, let me tell you about another story, and that will take me to myth number 8. So Maria, one of my patients, was terrified to move her joints when they hurt. She thought, if it hurts, I should rest in. And that makes sense, correct? But here it is what's fascinating about rheumatoid arthritis and movement, and what most people get it backwards. Not moving is like letting your car sit in the garage for many months. Everything will start to rust and stick. You can think of it like this. Your joints are like a bank account. Every time when you do the right kind of exercise, you are making a small deposit. And just like that compound interest, these small movements will add up to reduce inflammation, to make stronger muscles, to protect your joints, to have better flexibility. And here it is a bonus that nobody talks about: improve mood. But there is something crucial. You cannot just jump into any exercise program, because that's like trying to run a marathon when you never jogged before. But here it is what actually works. You could start with gentle movements like swimming or tai chi and build up slowly, like investing a little more each month. So listen to your body, because it's giving you valuable feedback. But this brings me to something even more surprising about treating rheumatoid arthritis, and this will bring me to the final myth. And I see this mistake every single day in many practices. Most doctors will diagnose rheumatoid arthritis and immediately will reach for their prescription pad. And this is what I call the magic pill approach. But after treating thousands of patients with rheumatoid arthritis over 15 years, I can tell you, medications alone are like trying to fix a broken down house with just one tool. And this leads me to this final myth that could be costing you years of unnecessary suffering. Actually, thinking that all rheumatoid arthritis patients are the same. Now think about this. Would you use the exact same investment strategy for someone in their 20s saving for a house and someone in their 60s planning for retirement? Of course not. Rheumatoid arthritis works the same way. Every patient needs a personalized approach. The solution is a comprehensive approach, and that is why I develop a complete system that will look at your unique symptoms, your lifestyle factors, your personal goals, and yes, even your gut health. And you are in luck because of my most comprehensive work on rheumatoid arthritis was just released now. And these are not just theories. These are exact strategies that I use with my patients who have gone from barely moving to reclaiming their lives. So grab this book by clicking to this pop-up at the top of your screen, or you can find the link in the description of the video. And now that you have learned the truth about these myths surrounding rheumatoid arthritis, it's time to make the next step and learn about natural remedies that can reduce your pain, your stiffness, can improve your quality of life. Because if you don't use them, you will miss that great opportunity to get better sooner. And you can learn about all of these remedies in this video.